The next problem I'm going to work for you from the exam review is number 7, and the instructions say divide, and obviously this is long division. Remember, with long division you're always looking at the first term in the divisor, the first term in the dividend. So I want to start by saying, how does 3x divide into 6x squared? Really what that means, remember, is what is the answer to this question, 6x squared divided by 3x? You don't have to write that down, of course, but that's really what you're trying to find out. What is the quotient of those two numbers? 6 divided by 3 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. So it goes in 2x times, and I write that at the top. You can move it over if you want to write it above the x, but it doesn't really matter for that. That's a separate answer up here. So 3x divides into 6x squared 2x times. Once I've decided that, now I want to take this 2x and multiply it by this entire binomial. That's like using the distributive property. It's like I'm saying this, 2x times 3x plus 2. That's what I'm really doing, and I'm going to write my answer down right here. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared. The first one should always give you the answer above it because I divided into that to get that. So certainly that times that should be that, shouldn't it? Okay, so now I'm going to say 2x times positive 2 is plus 4x. Now what do we do when we're doing long division with regular numbers? We subtract what we get here. So I'm going to subtract that polynomial, and another way to say that is draw a line here and change these signs, because what does subtraction outside of parentheses do? It changes those signs and becomes addition. So I drew a line and I changed the signs, and now I subtract. First term always going to subtract out because I multiplied to get that number. That was my intention, to be able to eliminate the first term. And now x minus 4x gives me negative 3x. Bring down the number. So now I have negative 3x minus 5, and I start over. I want to see, how does 3x divide into negative 3x? Same thing that I did here. Negative 3x divided by 3x is negative 1. Goes in negative 1 times, so I write negative 1 down. And now I take just that negative 1 and distribute it to these two things. Negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. I write that below here. And negative 1 times positive 2 is negative 2. Draw a line, change the signs. That's because I'm really subtracting that row. So to subtract that row, a subtraction changes both those signs. The first set cancel out. Negative 5 plus 2 is minus 3. And now I go back and say, how does 3x divide into negative 3? Well, certainly it doesn't divide into negative 3. That tells me that I don't have any more division to do, and I write that remainder of negative 3 over my divisor, 3x plus 2. Okay, let me just state those steps again. I was dividing 3x plus 2 into 6x squared plus x minus 5. So first I look to say, how does 3x divide into 6x squared? It divided in 2x times. So I wrote 2x on the top, and then I took 2x and distributed it by both of those numbers. 2x times 3x was positive 6x squared. 2x times positive 2 was positive 4x. I wrote them down, then I drew a line and changed my signs. Because I put a subtraction out here, it changed my signs. 6x squared minus 6x squared was nothing. X minus 4x was negative 3x. Once I have that written down, I bring down my next number and I start over. 3x divides into negative 3x negative 1 times. So I wrote down negative 1. Negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. This times this goes here. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. That was a negative 3x, that was a negative 2. But I drew a line and changed my signs because I was subtracting that row. It's always draw a line, change the signs. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Of course, that one canceled out. I got negative 3. Since 3x does not divide into negative 3, I have finished that problem. I just need to write down my total answer. I take that number and put it over my divisor, minus 3 over 3x plus 2. If this had been a positive 3, I would have put plus 3 over 3x plus 2. And that's your final answer.